such a good time to be involved in tax sale investing. And so we want to thank all of you that are using us or going to us to learn more about it. So, like we talked about, we're going to talk about North Dakota, look at some North Dakota properties. In fact, I was actually, as I was going through and looking at some of the sold results, I was completely shocked by what great deals can be picked up within this state.
Yeah, in fact, let's talk a little bit about North Dakota. So North Dakota is classified as a tax deed state, meaning that the counties conduct yearly tax sales that basically where they're able to foreclose on properties after a redemption period has expired there. So the county auditor will issue a tax deed to the county on all properties that are 3 years delinquent on the third Tuesday of November. So they've got a very straightforward system for when properties end up getting foreclosed on. The minimum, the opening bid amount consists of all the penalties and fees, recording costs, everything that is in publication costs are wrapped up into that over that 3-year period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and they hold all of their auctions there in November. That's the reason why we're going to be looking at the 2025 sales. And it's part of the reason why we're talking about them now is because those auctions are going to be coming up here in November. And so this could be a good opportunity if you live within that area, or it might even make sense to travel there and bid on some properties. So they're going to use premium bidding method, which means that they start at the back taxes and they're going to bid up in price until whoever wins is the high bidder and they win the property. Now, as far as North Dakota, they don't have online auctions yet. They're all held on site, which means that you need to be there in person, but they do offer over the counters if they're available. They call them private sales. So between when the auction took place and the next auction, if there's over the counter properties that are still available, you can actually purchase these by doing a private offer. In fact, we'll even show you a list of some properties that are over the counter right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump over right now and let's see here.
There we go. So here's the first county that we're going to look at. Now, this is Williams County, Nebraska. We're looking at their last year auction information. And as we go down here, we can see that they had 3 properties listed here. And so this first one here, we can see that it opened up for $6,400 and ended up selling for $45,000. Now, here is the property itself. We can see that this is from September 2025, so almost at the time of auction. Now, one thing I do notice, and we don't see any cars here, maybe somebody's gone, but we do see some garbage cans, and it does look like it's being mowed and cared for. So some of the home does need some work, obviously, could use some paint, but overall looks to be, decent little neighborhood. And here we can look into the county record information as well. So we can see the county's valuing at about $151,000. You can see it's on 0.16th of an acre. And here we can
Yeah,
see that tax sale right here.
yeah. I mean, the price sale at 45,000. I mean, it sold for less than a third of value. Which leaves plenty of room to fix it up or make it just a pretty cheap acquisition for something they could rent out for a fair amount.
Yeah, well, and what the market value and the county value, it even shows it that it was a better deal. So as we look here into the estimate, we can see the estimate, they're estimating about 272,000. Their range is between 223 to 319, and it rents out for about $1,700 a month.
Yeah, that's way more. Which makes it the better. I mean, they paid way less than a third of value if it's anywhere around, that 200,000+ range here, then they didn't pay very much.
Yeah, well, and then kind of looking at the comps, we don't have any information right here as far as when it was built and the size, but we can go back to the county record information and we can find out it was built in, 1925. We can see it's, almost 1,300 square feet. And, we can kind of see some of the outlines here as well of what the property looks like and get an idea of the map. But, here's a property that closed. This is about the same size, just a little smaller. For $279, it closed in June, so just a couple of months ago. And we can see that this one's about 10 years older. So, probably a pretty good comparable property. Now, obviously, they've rehabbed and cleaned up the inside, but you can see from the outside, it's still just kind of a small little home. And, they sold it for 279,000. So if we're looking at this property and let's say that they bought it for 44,000, even if they put in, $60,000 in getting a new roof and paint, there's still $170,000 worth of potential profits. So even if they put in $100,000, they would have close to $140,000 in potential profit off of this deal.
Yeah, that is a pretty good comp too, especially for one that's been through some repair. It gives us some kind of an idea that if we were to fix up this property, we could probably get that kind of a price point out of it.
Yeah, here's another one that was right next to it. This one's, quite a bit smaller, only 846 square feet, and it's still closed for 230,000. And so you can see that, there's obviously been some upgrades done, but this one's even smaller and, still selling for over $200,000. So even as is, I think you could sell this property, for 150,000 probably pretty quickly as is. You decide to go ahead and rehab it. I mean, I think they could have made 100,000 just selling it as is. And if they
Yeah,
rehabbed it, they could make between 100 and 180,000 depending on how much the rehab cost.
yeah, it's a tremendous amount of profit potential for a rehab of this price range.
Yeah. This next one here was a little bit interesting because you can see where it said action pending. So I was kind of wondering what that meant, but we were able to look in the sales record and find out what it actually ended up selling for. So it opened up at 4,600. This little house right here, it does have the two-car garage. You can kind of see where it's located here. And they're valuing it at $170,000. You can see it was built in 1954, so it is a little bit newer than the last one. And it ended up selling for 18,000. Now, what I'm kind of wondering is because you can see the date here wasn't until a couple of months later. I'm almost wondering if this property was picked up over the counter, or maybe it took
Yeah,
a while, for it to close. I'm not quite sure, but either way, you can see that it did get sold by the county, from the county to this buyer for $18,000. Of course, they used a quick claim deed.
yeah, it's
And
interesting. For them to come to that amount, it almost would have had to have been, something that they either worked out with the buyer that bid at the auction, or maybe they had to try to ask somebody that bid the second highest bid or something like that for it to sell later on like that and for a higher price. Because you would think it was bought over the counter, but it wasn't bought over the counter. It was still bought with with an auction price point of 18,000.
well, and I don't know if they sent in an offer or that's how it worked after it. And I didn't think about that. It very well could have been that, let's say the first bidder bid 20,000, and then the next bidder had a bid of 18,000 or whatever, and the first bidder didn't end up paying or couldn't come up with the money, and then they went ahead and hit up the second bidder who ended up acquiring it for 18,000. So we don't quite know what happened. It looks like it sold at the auction. Maybe it happened after the auction because you can see the action pending there. But either way, they've got this for 18 grand. The county's valuing it at 170 grand. We kind of see the same thing here, but what's kind of interesting is they've actually just listed this for sale pretty recently. They're selling it as is, as a kind of a tax deed, quick claim deed property. It's been on the market for 94 days. Uh, so we can see here where they originally listed it, for
Oh,
$99,000.
yeah, yeah. Right now, that's what they're trying to do right now is to see if they can just do a quick flip on it as is without doing anything to the property and pull some cash out of it.
Yeah, yeah, and they're motivated to sell as well because you can see here. I mean, I think that this property is probably valued close to similar to the other one, between
Hmm.
250 to 320. maybe even a little bit more than that, kind of looking at the comps. But they're trying to sell it as is. You can see being sold as is, and so you look at it. They paid 18,000 for it. They sell it for 69,000. They're still making 50 grand off of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably their objective there, is to just get more working capital so that they can reinvest into something else here and move on. It's a good property, it's a pretty good property at that price point. I mean, there's a ton of profitability in it. It's pretty well usable like it is almost.
Yeah, I think that they may have cleared out some of it. I don't even think they cleared out all of it. I You can see some of the stuff still down here, the beds and stuff. So I think they just kind of opened it up. They changed the locks, and they're selling it, kind of as is. I don't think they put a whole lot of money into this other than just getting it. Otherwise you'd take all of this stuff out, the furniture, the beds, the stuff like that. So I think it was kind of a property that had already been cleared out except for a few things. They just picked it up and they're just trying to sell it as is and make 50 grand off of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal at that, even at that price point right now. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. So the last property here is just this little lot. We can see that it opened up for just over $100, ended up selling for $1,000. And it's this kind of lot right here over to the left-hand side. We can look at the county record information. See, it's this lot right here. And, I'm not quite sure exactly what it's worth. Here's a lot that sold, and it's kind of outside of the county a little bit. I mean, if we were to look here at the map, it wasn't in the big area that we were at before. So I almost kind of think that it was, one of the locals or somewhere. It wasn't there within the big city that may have been interested in it. But, this one sold for 15 grand. This one sold for 10 grand. So I think, they probably picked it up for less than 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that all three of those properties, are decent deals.
Yeah, now we're going to look here at the Ward County list. So right here is the list from 2025. In fact, we're going to look here in a minute at this list as well. You can see that's there over the counter that are currently available for sale. So those are through the private sales. And the first one that I looked at was just kind of this one. So we just see what it opened up at. We don't have the sales price, but we can always go back into the county record information and see if we can figure that out. So we see the home rate here,
Yeah, that doesn't look too bad.
and we can see it sold for 3,374. So what did it open up?
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, that
3,073.
basically sold for the opening bid amount.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a dollar more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But see where it's located here on the GIS map. We can see kind of the frame. We can see it was built, it's quite a bit older, built in 1840. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. You can also see the address, the mailing address, and the property address are different, but that makes sense because this was probably purchased by a local investor. Oh, did this to me before, but I found it. Oh, it's in Kenmore. That's right.
There it is. So September of 2024 image.
Yeah. Well,
You've got vinyl windows on it and a new roof and
yep, new siding, new roof, vinyl windows. So this is from 2024. So, really in pretty good shape for a $3,500 property.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we might have to make a trip out to North Dakota.
yeah, that's a pretty crazy opportunity there.
Let's see if it might have pulled up on Zillow. No, it didn't. But we can kind of see the comparables there. Let me see what the county's valued at about 50,000. And I think that it's probably worth, when I was kind of looking at some of the comparables here in town, you can kind of see, let's even go to the lowest. Let's filter out to homes. Cheapest 79, 115, 139. So probably valued between 70 to 80, 70,000 to 120,000 would be my guess, but we'd do some more research on it for sure. But either way, for $3,500, based on what we can see here.
The fact that it's sold I mean, the fact these are selling for low amounts and close to opening bid amounts tells us a lot about the competition that's there, on site of the sale. And it's not enough that people are willing to bid up prices high and on each other. They're pretty much getting properties at close to opening bids, which means that probably just enough people there to bid on the properties. And even then, they probably still have some stuff that'll end up going over the counter.
Yeah, there was a couple that I think ended up, getting a little competition, but there was most of the ones that I looked at. I almost wonder if it's this house right there. The roof doesn't look too bad, and it doesn't look like it has a front door though, does it? I don't know if that's
No,
it or if you go around the back side and you enter it from the other side.
yeah, it is kind of a weird house where the front looks like the back.
Let's see, it's 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,300 square feet. God, look, that rent can't be right. Seems huge. $2,200 a month. Some of those areas in North Dakota have a bunch of people working there for oil and stuff. That maybe rent is a little bit higher.
Well, what's interesting is just that these are all on-site auctions. So if you live in the area or if you're close enough to the area, then these are auctions that would be worth attending. To bid on some of these just because the prices are not too bad. And some of the counties, in this county, had quite a few properties that were available in this auction.
Yeah, it looks like it's a pretty strong market. The homes are selling medium within this zip code at 190,000.
Yeah, those are good numbers for a tax market, and that's a pretty good sized list as well.
Yeah, and this one, I think if we looked at it, it's sold for like 4,100 or so.
There's something there that sold for 88,000, or at least
It was opening bid. It's a piece of land. We can look at it here in a second. Just another home. Another home that was picked up there for, on about $5,000 or so. This one here didn't end up selling. I don't believe it did anyway.
yeah, probably. I mean, because I guess because of the high opening bid?
I,
Mm,
I
80.
I'm not sure, but you can see it's this big piece of land right here.
Oh, it's next to a school district. Is that a school that's next to, or what
I
is
don't
it?
know if I think I'm not sure
Or
if it
maybe it's
was.
commercial. It kind of looks commercial.
Yeah, I think it was commercial. We can see in 2025 they valued it at 430,000. It's
Well,
three
why do they
point.
value? Did the value go down here that
Yeah,
much?
yeah. Well, and that might be the fact that it had been through the tax sale, or some the new owner could have said, "Hey, you're overcharging me. This is way too much." There's reasons why it could be other than it actually going down in actual value.
Yeah, it is. It seems like a pretty valuable piece of real estate, though.
Yeah. Back to let's see, it's general commercial. Let me see if we can pull up another property so we can get an address on it. So as you guys saw, what we did there is we just used the GIS map to click on a property close to it because it didn't have an address, and then we'll kind of take us to where it's at. Wyatt at Northern Lights.
Is it? Oh, is it like a? Oh, it must be like a hotel.
I think it's more of it's apartment buildings
Oh, that's what it is.
or
Yeah,
condos or something like that.
yeah. Well, that should be pretty valuable property. Then it looks like. I mean, it looks like they could pretty easily extend and build there more.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. So it really is a great piece of land. You can see it goes all through here, all the way to the road there. Now you can see back here they were trying to sell it back in August 2025.
I wonder how much they're trying to get for it.
I don't know, but they didn't sell it in time. I can grab it and see. And maybe it sold, but I thought it didn't sell. What? Maybe it's under here. Yeah, see how it says 0?
Oh yeah.
So you see it was sold from the county to the county. So it didn't sell. So I mean, somebody could have bought in that piece of land for 88,000. You'd have to do a market value and see what it's worth. But it does look like a pretty usable piece of property. And based on the amount of apartments within here, you think that they have got to be renting these out. You can see, all of the neighborhood up here has places. You've got neighborhood here, and you could build apartments there. You may be able to build residential homes, but definitely would be an interesting place to put up some apartments. You see apartments down here, more homes within this area. So there's a lot of building going on right around here, and probably has to do with some of the work that's coming within here. They even have an airport.
Hmm. Yeah, that does seem like a pretty valuable piece of property, to come up for auction there and to not sell. But then again, it's limited by who attends the sale there and who can bid on it.
Yeah, and you can, we can see all kinds of different ones that are available or that were available. I don't know what that one is. Look at some of the ones here within. Here's one for 15,000. Let's see what that one was.
Oh yeah, it looks like a nice little house.
Oh, it's a duplex.
Oh yeah, it is a duplex.
It is a seller's market there. Look at the medium home price, 295,000, has been selling in 43 days for 98.7, almost 99% of their asking
Yeah,
price.
that's selling very quickly and for full price.
Yeah, that's a good market. Yeah, you can see 4-bedroom, probably 2 and 2.
Oh, that's
Estimating at
interesting.
233.
That's a great tax sale with a lot of great properties in it for this county. This last county we've been looking at, this is Ward County?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if we go back to look at one more thing before we're done, I've got to go back here. You can see right here where we can click on a list to see properties that are currently available for sale.
Oh wow, so this is the, oh yeah, there's that top property where we see the $88,000 lot. It's still there for the minimum price.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted, they could, go and pick up commercial property in an area that looks like it seems to be a pretty good market.
Look at that. They've got a property that has a minimum price of 1.2 million, and they've got another one that has a minimum price of 700,000. They have a couple of them. They actually have they have two of them. They have another one there that has a minimum price of 749,000 as well. Those are some big over the counter.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah, that looks like a nice big piece of usable property there. This is the one for
78
78.
acres.
This is the one for 1.2.
I think so. Yeah, per 1.2. So it's 78 acres. I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised if the other one's that one.
yeah, the other one's probably the one right next to it. I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 48 acres there. Yep. So those are those two. That's interesting. I wonder what the other 750 is.
I bet it's this one right here. We can look, but I'll almost guarantee it's that one that I just clicked on.
Oh, right down below. Oh, is that what you think it was? The one, I guess it is Highlands Ranch Third Edition. It's in the same area.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
the big one, this one's the one
Oh,
that's 1.2.
oh yeah. Yeah, it is. If it's 48 acres, that is the other half of it.
Oh, it's up here.
Oh yeah, there's the 43. So all three of them are almost they're touching, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, they have a number of larger lots here. It looks like maybe homes in some of those that sold didn't sell, but some of the higher price stuff, starting at 19,000 and starting at 20,000, didn't end up getting bids.
That house is on the over-the-counter list.
I wonder if it had a fire or something. Maybe it's just boarded up.
They definitely boarded it up.
That's interesting though. For an over-the-counter list of properties that you can buy, that's not a bad list. I mean, at least we know that there's probably some potential with that first property. It's not cheap at 88,000, but it also has to have a value that's got to be
Well,
substantially more.
and some of these, if they're worth 250 or 300,000 redone, could be worth going in there and rehabbing it if you could pick it up for cheap enough.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting. You can see that these look probably a bunch of lots within a certain area.
It's a
And
big list. It's way bigger than I thought.
yeah, it's $700.
Are each one of those ones down there for 30,000 a piece? Those are all lots, aren't they? Oh, it's a
I think,
condo unit.
yeah, I don't know if it's a condo or, I mean, not sure if it's land or yeah, I think it's land.
Oh yeah, it's
So
land.
undeveloped condos.
Yeah.
That's probably the reason those are sitting on there. But
Are
you
those tied to the $88,000 property? I wonder.
no, they're in a different area. I mean, you can see that that's not in the same area.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they developed these ones, but then whatever happened, they didn't, develop these. This is the contractor losing all of these essentially.
Yeah.
Not, but we'll check out one of these lots, and see if there's any decent, just regular land. I don't. This one you can kind of see there's a little bit of a road there, but there might be some here that could be worth picking up a couple of these together for $700 and having a buildable lot. You have to look a little bit more into it, but got an interesting sell. There's some over the counters there available as well, and that was just a couple. That was just a couple of the counties that I looked at. So it's definitely something to think about. Could be even worth going to the auction. I mean, we can pick up properties like some of these examples that we saw here on that list. Especially the auction list, they could definitely be worth going out to, because some of them sold pretty close to minimum bid amounts.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the bidding was that aggressive, and I've been impressed by the inventory. There've been decent houses there. There've been decent pieces of land.